Hello, everyone. My name is T. Hunter. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and thank you so much for coming back. In today's video, I want to discuss this topic. Be careful of how you label things. So, in my work as a therapist, when it was time to give clients a diagnosis, I was always advised to be very careful in my selection of whatever diagnosis that may be. Why? Because the diagnosis is a label. While it can guide treatment, it will also follow the person for the rest of their life. I'm sure some of us have definitely dealt with this. Even if you've never seen a psychologist or never worked with a therapist, you may have had a label placed on you, whether it be you're a liar, you're talkative, you're strong, you're aggressive, you're a go-getter. Whatever that label is, it follows you from one chapter of your life to the next. Our reputation definitely precedes us. So we have to be careful how we label situations, and especially how we label the people that God has placed in our lives. Whether they are there to teach us something, or they are going to be lifelong friends, even family members. We have to watch what we say about people, and we definitely have to watch how we talk about situations that we are in, especially after God gives us the victory and we overcome a situation. So in the Bible, the children of Israel, they had a habit of forgetting the benefits, forgetting the miracles, forgetting God's faithfulness to them. The moment that adversity rears its head, the children of Israel would go to complaining, go to whining, wishing that they had stayed in Egypt. It didn't matter that being in Egypt meant being in bondage. In their moments of frustration, in their moments of fear, maybe even hopelessness, all they could think about was, well, at least in Egypt we had fish. At least in Egypt we had meat. At least in Egypt we had, and the list can go on and on and on. Yet, as they're recalling the things that they had in Egypt, they were very selective in what they chose to remember. They didn't say, oh, well, in exchange for the meat, we did have to take lashes. In exchange for the great things that we don't have here in the wilderness, we had to make bricks without all of the necessary supplies. We had to go and find them for ourselves and work extra hard. Isn't it funny how when we are faced with adversity and challenges, sometimes we don't necessarily remember the terrible things in the previous seasons that we have overcome? Because at least in those previous seasons, those challenges were familiar. Sometimes we can get so comfortable with the familiar that we are too fearful to take a chance on the unknown, even though God has promised us as believers that He would never leave or forsake us. God has promised to walk with us through every situation that we will face. And yet, because there is an element of surprise, because we don't know exactly how everything will work out, sometimes we doubt God and we say things like, oh, if only I would have stayed here, or I wish that previous chapter I was in, I could go back to it. I know I have been guilty of this myself, as far as not being careful with how I label situations and how I describe them. God has definitely blessed me as far as my career, my family, in every aspect of my life. And sometimes when we start receiving the blessings, it is so easy to start looking at the things in our past that actually served as a means to mature us as negative. So that job that God used as a resource to provide finances, training, opportunities for personal growth and development, now that you are at a better job with higher pay, that previous job, that was just a terrible opportunity. I don't even know why I even stayed there for as long as I did. Excuse me? Well, perhaps God preserved you and he kept you there for as long as he did because he knew that there were character traits that he wanted to build in you. Perhaps there were flaws that he wanted to work out of you. So it's so important that we don't go back and label a previous season as completely negative because God was there with us through all of it. It's kind of like a saying that I have often either heard, sometimes even seen on social media. Don't talk poorly of something that you once thought so highly of. It amazes me how sometimes we can be delivered from relationships. And yes, all glory to God when he brings us out of toxic friendships, delivers us from abusive relationships, when he saves us from faulty business connections. However, even in the negative aspects of those relationships, God was still working. Sometimes it's so easy to put the blame on someone else. It's so easy to say, well, if this situation had not happened, I would not have behaved this way. But we also have to accept responsibility. We have free will. We make our decisions and we make our choices. And sometimes we want God to bless those choices and those decisions on the back end instead of bringing him to the table and praying and consulting him before we make those decisions so that the outcome will be even better. I said all that to say, whatever opportunity, whatever relationship, whatever situation, whatever residence that you are in or have been in, be very careful how you label those situations, those relationships, and those spaces once God delivers you and promotes you to better. The circumstance may not always be good, but our God is always good. So instead of grumbling and complaining, mislabeling, and poorly treating people in situations because they didn't work out the way that we thought they should, let's remember that God still uses all things to work together for the good of those who love him. That's all that I have to say for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and of course, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a future post. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.